Hi guys, so today we are sort of doing a Guinea 101 session. We have been guinea fowl owners for coming up on a year.
No, 6 months.
Has it only been 6 months?
Yeah, maybe 7 or 8. It's in the fall. They got here.
Okay.
August.
All right. So
maybe September.
We raised them. We got them as keets. We raised them with the chickens, and we thought it would be cool to answer some of your questions about raising them. When I looked into getting them, I had 101 questions about raising guineas because you hear a lot of stuff about them, some good and some bad. And so making that decision was sort of based on the information that I could find. So.
And consulting your husband. That was a lot of information there.
I sort of weaved it into our daughter's birthday flock gift, and so they arrived at the same time. Okay, so question number 1 comes from BJM 5244. Where can I buy them? I'm interested in them for snakes.
Where'd you get yours?
We actually ordered ours from McMurray Hatchery, I think, and they came.
Better put a link or something in there.
We bet it. They came with the chicks. We haven't had any experience of guineas with snakes, but this was one of the things that I was interested in before we purchased them because we do have snakes around here.
I don't think those birds are afraid of hardly anything. They take on the cats and the other chickens. Any rooster, they're not really, they're afraid of, they'll get out of your way, I guess. Human.
They can be pretty aggressive, and they work in a group. They're like a pack, and videos that I've seen on them with snakes is that they sort of harass the snake out of the picture, is what I've seen and heard.
We personally, obviously, it's been since in the fall, and we haven't had snakes encounter our guineas yet. Oh. I hope we don't. I mean, I'm okay with the snakes to stay in the woods. They don't need to be around my house.
Yep. Okay, John Lisa Welkner. How do you not go insane from their noise? It's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question, John and Lisa.
They are loud, and also there was another question. Are they loud?
They are.
Yeah, there was another one. Left the fourth. Are they noisy 24/7? I don't think that they're noisy 24/7. They're definitely noisy for 12 hours of the day, but I don't hear them at night.
Well, here's the thing. I think compare it to a chicken. A chicken doesn't really make a noise. A rooster will crow, and he'll do it 3, 5, 7 times maybe, and then eventually quits, and then it's all good. And then depending on the rooster, right? Kick off again. But a guinea will squawk or whatever that thing they do, just back to 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 back.
It's quite an obnoxious noise.
And it's like you want to get the 12 gauge and end 3 of them right there. One shot, 3 of them drop.
I don't.
Sometimes I like that's a good.
I don't feel like that.
You know.
I find them obnoxious but endearing in a sort of goofy type of way. They are sort of birds that look like they don't have much sense, but in some ways
they have They are, God's creatures. They serve a purpose.
They do.
They will do well with, I hope, getting bugs out, and they're guard dogs. That's what they're known for.
So
being a big noisy dog, like a guard dog.
Searching for Simple asked, do they eat different bugs than chickens, or is having chickens the same? So what I understand about guineas is that they are more fastidious about foraging for bugs, and they will eat a wider range of bugs. I know that chickens that I have tried to give certain bugs last year will turn their nose up at some, whereas guineas will eat everything, including stingers. So they'll eat wasps and hornets, they'll catch bees out there. I heard someone say that if you actually are a beekeeper, you don't want your guineas anywhere near your beehive, because they'll actually stand out front and just glug the bees as they come out. So and the other thing that they're supposed to be very good at is eating ticks.
What was the main reason why you got them?
Yeah, what was the main reason? We do have tick season here, and
tick season?
Yeah, it's official. I'm declaring it tick
Right.
season.
No.
Okay, someone else. So Naturally Nested and Nourished asked, I've always heard that they aren't a very nice bird. Are they nice or mean? They have been fine with us. So we did have an aggressive rooster a couple roosters ago, and that was a terror for the kids to come outside, and he was not a nice bird to have on your property. The guineas haven't been threatening towards us or the kids in any way, shape, or form. They're very submissive to get out of the way.
I think a lot of it has to do with it. Just we've had them since they were chicks, and so they have known the children since they were babies. I think that's like, I don't know, like most things, maybe, perhaps, how well this little, call it a pup or kitten or whatever, chick has grown up with you, and how that's going to respond, and how you treat the animal.
Right.
Is how it's going to respond to you as a human.
And
so like if you get a guinea that you don't know where it's an adult, and it was a terror from wherever, chances are it's probably going to be honored to you, and that's what the deal was with these roosters. They were full grown roosters coming to us, and they had dominance issues. They wanted to make sure that they're over top of the kids even, and that's why they attacked the kids, or we just went after them. They jumped up and flapped their wings at the kids, and whatnot. So, but these guineas have grown up with the kids, so, and they walk out of the way of the kids. They don't bother them at all. And the same way with the roosters. The roosters don't bother the kids, nothing. So they get out of your way.
Yeah. Having said that, the guineas are aggressive towards certain other birds. So all the chickens that we got at the same time as the guineas, and we raised them all together, the guineas have, and I don't know if it's a color thing, but we have Egyptian Phiomes, and the guineas started terrorizing the Phiomes, and they would actually catch on to his...
The Phiome is a type of chicken, just so you know, in case the audience didn't know.
They would catch on to the roosters.
We didn't get them from Egypt. I think they came from another place in Missouri. That's their name.
So the guineas would catch on to the tail feathers of the rooster and literally run.
Him bad.
Yeah, they would run with him, holding on to his tail feathers, and then the other guineas would come in like a pack, and the rooster would get to a place where he couldn't move anymore, and then they would jump on top of him and all start pecking him.
The Phiome was a smaller rooster. They're smaller. I mean, the guinea full grown was bigger than the rooster, so they probably thought it's no problem to take him out.
Okay, so Hick and Handmade asks, will they fly away if left to range, or are they similar in habit to chickens? Which is a good question, because I have heard of a lot of people losing their guineas, and one of the other questions from Brittany is, how many have you lost? My friend is down to 6 from 50.
Wow.
Yeah, so they do wander. Of the guineas that we've raised, we haven't lost any.
But are they fully adults though?
Yeah. Okay. They're considered adults at 4 months old.
Oh, wow. Really? Huh. Well, they've hung around so far, but they'll fly up in a tree, and then they'll stay there for about, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then they fly back down. They're quite attached to this rooster,
that's the thing.
Which is part of this equation, I think. That might be a solution. I don't know. So all of these birds have been babies all together. So they all grew up together. And this Americana rooster?
Moran rooster.
Moran.
The black Moran.
The black one. It's got a real pretty tail feathers and black with like a green shine to his feathers. That guy is like the overseer of the guineas. He is the guinea granddad or whatever. I don't know. He's the patriarch. There's two roosters and they get along okay. One's more dominant than the other one, but he looks after those guineas. And he acts like they're his hens, and he'll tell them where food is, and he'll just watch them, like what roosters do. They just kind of hang out 10 feet away or whatever. The guineas are all over the place. And
yeah.
So, does that answer what question?
Yeah, well, that was, do they come back if they're free ranging? I think I've seen them fly up into a tree, and then the rooster calls them, and they come flying back again. So I think it's got a lot to do with him. And that goes the next...
Her theory.
Yeah. The next question is, can they sleep in a chicken coop and free range with the chickens? They do, because they're attached to this rooster.
Now, the caveat is, there's how many birds, I think, you cram into your coop. And so just be mindful of that. Our chicken coop is 4 feet by 8 feet. And there is, in that dwelling... The main one that we have, the first one. How many birds are in there? 10? Mm-hmm. Okay. But before all the Fyomies, the other 4 Egyptian chickens.
And the ducks were in there.
So that made 8 more birds on top of all that. And that was a mess. And that was more of a...
Well, that was kind of as they were growing out, and we had to sort of keep them in one space before we had the other coops built.
Well, the ducks were already full grown, but...
Yeah, it got to a place where they were starting to fight. Yeah. So, but they definitely can be coop trained. And I know one of the other questions, because people have problems coop training them, I think it's got a lot to do with the rooster that they're attached to. I've read that they'll coop train if you leave a light on at night, and that definitely works. If you put a light on in the coop, they will definitely go in. Otherwise, they tend to stay out because they like to roost in trees. We have a completely enclosed aviary style run.
It's called a run.
But it's very tall, and so if they can get up high, they will roost out when it's
tall enough for a human being to get in. That's what I mean.
Yeah, well, it's 8 foot, I'd say, tall.
Anyway.
But the guineas are trained to the coop, and they will go in at night by themselves with the rooster without us having to shepherd them in. Cam D asks, how similar or different are they compared to caring for chickens? And Nicole asks, what feed other than free-range bugs do they get? So that's sort of part and parcel of the care that we give them. And they really don't have any other different needs to chickens. We care for them the same. They eat the chicken feed that I buy.
Which is like a layer crumble?
It's a layer crumble. I do buy organic layer crumble.
Organic.
And I will also buy a bird seed as a supplement, like a scratch, because it does have grains in, like millet and other grains that is not in the chicken food, but the guineas will eat.
When they were younger, though, wasn't there a thing that you had to...
No, that was for the ducks. So the ducks have to have a separate feed because they need a slightly higher protein, which you can achieve by adding brewer's yeast to chicken food. So that's the difference between duck food and chicken food. But because guinea fowl are considered more of a game bird, then you can give them feed that is tailored towards game birds. And some of the chicken feeds that you buy can be complete to serve both breeds.
Sure. I'm sure one time they were probably more of a wild bird. Right?
Well, they're from Africa. Yeah.
I miss the rains in Africa. Down in Africa.
Natalie Goodison asks, why are they so ugly? Natalie! That's the way God made them. And they're probably ugly for a reason. I don't know what the purpose of that little red bump on the head is. And they sort of have these kind of earpieces as well. Little dangly things. And
I'm sure in a flock. Because they're not really a flying bird. They're a walking bird, like a turkey. Like a turkey flies up and sits up in the trees for a bit, but then they're mostly on the ground. So probably has a lot to do with cover and concealment, maybe. Especially in Africa, maybe the way in which the landscape provided for them. It was able to have concealment to get away from predators, perhaps. Maybe they were in gray trees with little red flowers. And that's how they really stayed up in there. And no one was like, oh, there's the guineas. And they just shut their mouths. Maybe they ate fruit that was real sticky. They kept their beaks kind of like stuck. They couldn't squawk. Just kidding.
Kim Wood says, I want some, but I'm afraid of predators and my own dogs bothering them. Any tips? I have heard of people losing guineas to predators, so I think coyotes are probably the biggest threat. However...
Well, anything around here is going to be your raccoon at night.
Yeah.
And because the raccoon's going to get up in a tree. And if you had the guinea up in a tree or whatever, roosting all night. But since ours are coop trained, everything gets shut up and sealed up, and yeah, and coyotes won't come close to the house. And if you have a dog, then that's good that keeps the coyotes away. And growing up, we didn't have problems with dogs, or with our dogs knew not to go and mess with the birds. So we don't have dogs here now, but we had raised. When I was a boy, we raised chickens and ducks, and they were golden retrievers, and they kept away from the birds. So I guess it probably doesn't help necessarily, but I think it just depends on the dog and how you train the dog too. You know.
Yeah, and I think breed of dog as well. Some dogs are going to be more prone to want to hunt, and other dogs, like the livestock guardian dogs, are more sort of guardians and shepherds. So I think terriers and those kind of breeds are probably going to be more challenging. Hound dogs maybe having them around birds. So it's just a case of then the question is, how do you have them free range? So I guess it's
And that goes back to that young stage where if a puppy knows not to fool, like if the animal has grown up with it in its life, and they know not to mess with it, typically they don't fool with it.
To some degree, I think there's certain genetics that are hard to train out of dogs.
I think yeah, I agree.
In terms of predators bothering guineas, I will say I think that guineas are probably more aware than chickens. Sometimes when we watch the guineas, I'm always seeing them with an eye on the sky, and they're very alert to moving things and changes in situations. So Prairie Through the Lens asks, how do they fare in winter? And I was worried because they are a bird from Africa, so they are not necessarily habituated to the cold winters that we get here in Missouri. But they did okay.
Depends on we got them. We didn't get them from Egypt or Africa, which is in Africa. Egypt is, by the way.
Right. I mean, they have been bred and raised here. However, what I mean is that for being adapted to cold.
Right. We're not in Texas or Florida, so the winter, this past winter, which we're technically still in, but it was some of the coldest nights got down to like minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit with a wind chill, and they were in a coop that had a infrared heater, which they liked. I think they knew to get underneath that thing. And but the only thing we do to insulate the coop was just having hay, just in different places to keep the wind from blowing through there. And everyone did all right.
Yep, there seems to have been no issue. And they don't have any sort of like, big combs or wattles like some chickens. And so I haven't noticed a problem with frostbite or anything that the chickens seem to suffer from. So they did do okay. Mm-hmm. Another question. What was that? Glenn and Avid. Another question about the bugs. Will they eat Japanese beetles, and do they destroy your garden? In terms of bug eating, they don't scratch. So
Glenda. It's Glenda. David. Glenda. And David. And David.
Well, it could be Glenn.
Glenda. It's Glenda. Okay. Glenda and David. Hi. If we messed your name up.
Sorry about that.
We're so sorry.
So Glenda and David ask, will they eat Japanese beetles, and do they destroy your garden? Do you prefer guineas? I like both the chickens and guineas. They have different characteristics. Guineas don't scratch, so apparently they are better to have in your garden for bug eating without raking up the grass and seedlings and things like that. And Japanese beetles, I am hoping that they will enjoy Japanese beetles. The chickens certainly will eat Japanese beetles, but we haven't had the guineas long enough yet to see them eat Japanese beetles.
But you will post the video, won't you?
I will be the first person to tell everybody if the guineas are eating the Japanese beetles.
How much of a feast it will be.
Yes, we get a lot of Japanese beetles here. Okay, Mama by the Sea wants to know, will we eat them at any point? Caleb has considered it.
I mean, they look just like the size of a chicken, maybe a little smaller.
Well, we got our guineas for the purpose of bug control, so that's why we have them. However, in England, guinea fowl is definitely on high-end menus as a very sort of sought-after dish.
Very posh indeed.
I definitely have cooked with and eaten guinea fowl.
Next to the quail and squab.
But ours probably no. I don't think that we'll be using them for meat birds.
Are they gonna? Well, the chickens have. The roosters bred with the guinea.
Yes, they do.
That we're gonna see what they look like. Right?
No, we're not.
That'd be cool.
That would not be cool.
I think we're gonna have a gickin, a guinea and a chicken gickin,
okay.
Or a chineo. Chinay. That's a good bird name. It's a chinay. It's a chinay's darling. We bred a guinea fowl with all rooster, and we have chinay.
You talk a lot. Do you know
I
that?
do, don't I? Honestly.
Okay, last question. How do you pronounce that name?
Rinda.
Rinda Smith asks.
Rinda Smith
asks, can you help me convince my husband to get a few?
No.
This is a message for Rinda Smith's husband. Make your wife a special birthday treat this year and buy her a few little keys. We'll send you some.
It's how you sell it, Rinda. It's how you're gonna convince them. See, my wife just said, hey, I got some guinea fowl on order. She'd already ordered them. And then I just had to be like this. Okay. Thanks.
What I actually did is I packaged it up in our daughter's birthday present. So then I knew that there was going to be little pushback because it would have broken too hot. So,
I guess if there's a heavier infestation of, say, bugs and ticks or whatever, and that would be something that you could possibly go that route, they're going to be noisy. They're just going to be noisy. Yeah. And I wonder, the other thing is, like, I don't know if there's a lot of people that do a lot of the stuff in town, in the burbs, and you want your backyard chicken / guinea. I don't know if your neighbors are going to love you. They're probably going to call the people, what are they? The noise.
The noise pollution.
I don't think if your homeowners association is going to allow for you to have a guinea. So anyway, that's one thing to consider. Yeah. They're not going to be loud all the time, but when they do squawk, they're going to squawk, and sometimes it's a bit too much. So
all in all, have you enjoyed having them, or are you in favor of them, or wouldn't want any more?
I don't think I'd want any more. I think we have 5, and that's plenty. I do want to see what offspring would look like. That'd be cool.
You don't want any more, but you want to breed
to see if they had a 2. I mean, what do they taste like? You know, what are they? I mean, they're gonna be on free range and stuff. I don't know. I guess I'm indifferent, really. There's a lot of days where I'm like, here, I don't want this burger in my house, near my house.
Well, thanks so much for your questions, guys. I think that we got all of them. Sorry if we missed any, but there was pages of questions, and we're really glad that you're as interested in guineas as we were, and let us know.
As she was. Yes. Yes.
Let us know how you go with your guineas. You can drop us a comment below and let us know.
Drop it like it's hot.
If you're going to go ahead and get guineas. So
take care.
See you in the next one.
Bye-bye now.